Hello there. I've purposely put this stream for 5 minutes early. I've put on all of the communication that will start at noon. But just if you are on board, if I could encourage you all to click on the hyperlinks just to what side? This side here. Basically, I've created some slides I'll be talking through today that you guys can follow. I'll obviously put this video up on the careers page, and obviously this is the first time that we'll be running a live stream like this one. So I'll be drawn by the feedback received by everybody today. I could say the reason we're putting everything on to YouTube and the reason that the slides are in the Google suite is just for ease of access. So if you've got a phone, you can pretty much download any of this or watch this from any device anywhere. So that's the main reasoning for that. What I will do on the landing page on my website, which you can see as the first hyperlink in the live chat there. If you're unsure where the live chat is, it's just located on your right as you're looking at your device. And you should be able to just click in there and then click the hyperlinks as and when you see fit. So I will, like I say, all of the notes for these sessions will be housed on my website. I will be looking to promote these sessions a bit more vigorously once we've agreed that the content is the most relevant for the audience. We have got a couple of different centres involved with the delivery of these sessions, which is great. So thank you everyone for the support. I'll start going through the slides, at noon, basically New South Wales time. Not quite sure what time that is for everybody else. It would be worthwhile opening the slides on the screen or device that you're watching this. I'm not looking to do a share screen because I feel like the content that we'll be covering is fairly straightforward, and I've tried to simplify these sessions as much as possible, just so we can eventually translate these sessions to help as many people as we possibly can. So I think the main thing here is that we're not just going to focus on a resume. There's going to be 10 sessions, and we're going to do them on a rotation. So the 10 sessions will be effective resume writing, and a lot of today's session will be relevant for next week. A lot of the websites and processes that I'll be recommending will be relevant for the second session. So the second session is effective cover letter writing. Again, these are two of the first things that you probably need to do. So if we can get them done, to a good standard, I think standards in good stead. Before we get into any of these sessions, I'm going to make reference to a website called LinkedIn. I have created a group on LinkedIn. I'm going to encourage everybody who's attending these sessions to create a LinkedIn profile, and I'm hoping that we can have a bit of a hub and a communication center through the LinkedIn group, which again is housed on the website on the hyperlinks provided here. Just before we jump into this session, so we'll pretty much start. LinkedIn is like your social media for professionals. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you know, a lot of recruiters won't be able to find you. Um, if I can briefly introduce myself and give a bit of background to me, this might make a bit more sense. So me personally, I'm from the UK originally, from Wales, Northern Wales. I've been in Australia 9 years now, and throughout my working career, both in the UK and in Australia, I've been working in the recruitment sector. So I've run recruitment businesses, set up new markets from scratch, and you know, worked right from kind of entry level right up to board level appointments, whether that be you know, listed businesses in Australia, yeah, right across the spectrum. And what I've learned from my journey in recruitment might be a little bit different to what you can commonly download, I suppose, and what's out there. So I'm hoping that hearing these tips, tricks, hacks, however you want to phrase it, I'm hoping that coming from the perspective of a recruiter might be helpful for you guys. And I'm thinking all of the information I'm going to provide over the next 10 weeks, I want your feedback, because then with that feedback, I can then redesign, change, and make these sessions better. And this is just going to be a continuous thing. So just because we do 10 sessions doesn't mean we're going to end there. We'll go again and go again and go again until we've got the sessions where we need to be. So from a recruitment consultant's perspective, or a manager of a recruitment business, or however way you want to look at it, it's really important to know the fundamentals. So if we go to first principle, a candidate applies for a position, then a recruiter or an internal recruiter, or sometimes a HR professional, or even sometimes a line manager, will then do the application tracking process, and then the process starts from there. So if you think about it, from my perspective, a lot of the rules, or what you read online, are all about putting lots of detail and but I'm just saying this from a recruiter's perspective. So a lot of the time, just because you've put lots of information on your profile, whether that be on your online profile or whether that be on your resume, don't think for a second that a recruiter is going to study your resume word for word. The process of applying for positions and getting shortlisted is very much having your information put displayed in a certain way in a document, which we call a resume or a CV, and getting that through as quickly as possible. So right now, because of the pandemic and everything else that's happening in the world, what you're finding is lots of candidates are applying for positions. Therefore, it puts more pressure on, let's say, the middle people, being the recruiters. So if your resume is designed well, looks good, is professional, it's concise, to the point, the chances of that going through this application tracking system and coming out the other end with an interview, you've really got to get your resume perfect. And it's a lot more difficult at the moment, just because there's more candidates. So with these sessions, what I'm hoping to do is position everybody who attends these sessions to be ahead of the curve, basically. So why don't I jump straight into the slides? So I'm hoping that you guys have got a copy of these slides, so we can go through them. Again, all of this information will be housed on the website. So first and foremost, if we're going to focus on your resume, you can spend a lot of time trying to design a resume. You can, look at the detail. You can try and get the colors and the sizes and the fonts right, and you can spend lots and lots of hours trying to make your resume look perfect. My best advice is to use a template. There's a number of templates that you can just simply download for free online. One website, I don't get any endorsements or anything like that by recommending anything, by the way. But one website that I would highly recommend is a website that I've included on my first slide. The website is hloom.com, HLOOM.com, and /resumes. And there's lots of different styles of resumes on there. Next week, I'll pretty much start the session off doing the same thing. We're going to be looking at cover letters next week, so there'll be an opportunity for you to download a cover letter template from there. So I would very much encourage everybody to have a look at the resumes, find a resume design or style that's most relevant for your type of work. So if you are somebody who's an architect or somebody who's a designer, then you might want to choose a resume template that reflects your portfolio. If you are in hospitality, or you're a services professional, then you might want to have a look at the resumes and find one which you feel can present your skills to the best of your ability. So if we go to the next slide, I've picked one of the templates off the Hloom website, and this one I've actually used for myself when I for my last resume that I created, which I can share with you guys within these slides. The reason I like this resume is very simple. There's no photograph of my headshot on the resume, which personally, after reading thousands and thousands and thousands of resumes, or I say reading loosely, skimming, making sure the right information is there to go to the next stage, and then reading them in depth a bit later once I've done my shortlist. But look, I think this profile is a very good one. I'm not saying this is the only one, there's others, but the reason I like it is because of the bar. There's a sky blue bar on the right-hand side of the document as you're looking at it. You can tailor that to your experience. So I like this one. I'd recommend this one, but again, I'd encourage you guys to go and have a look and find one which works for you. Now, if I flick to the next slide in the presentation, I've mentioned here that your resume really shouldn't. Your resume should contain enough information, basically, for employers to make an informed decision on whether to interview you or not. So again, going back a few plays, imagine somebody like myself sat at a desk with lots of resumes, having to go through them. You skim reading. So if you can make it simple for the reader and have the main points, and you're ideally tailoring each resume for each type of role that you're applying for. And then if you've got your key experiences presented in a manner on the side of the resume, that's going to be helpful for me. Okay, that looks like a good one. That's simple. I can see that you're shortlisted. If it's really wordy and quite boring and just text on a white background, I can get there, but make it easier for me. Don't try and summarize everything. So if you can try and keep it to 2 pages, that's ideal. If you have to go over, then we're not going to lose sleep over it. But the idea is to try and keep it as well designed, in sync, and to the point as possible. So on this slide, there's a random resume that I found from Template Monsters. Again, you can find resume templates on this site as well, but a lot of them have a photo on them there, surprisingly. So try and avoid the photo. I think it can give the wrong impression when you don't intend it to. You're just looking for a nice, simple, easy design. So this one is Alice Morgan, whoever that person is. And again, just the example of there's a bar on the left-hand side of this resume. It's I think it's a pink or an off red, and I just think it works well. Again, I'll let you decide which design you go for. So this was the last resume that I actually wrote. This was when I was in my last position. Sorry, we've turned the slide. The slide is called Summarize and Hyperlink. And all I've done, I've just shown you an example of my resume using the template from before, from Loom. And as you'll see there, as you're looking at the resume, whether you've got the slides open or not, doesn't really matter. Basically, the main thing is that I've put my address, my telephone number, my LinkedIn profile, my email address on the top bar. Now, there's a few little errors within this resume that I've purposely done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you all to see who's the first one that can pick the errors out, and maybe we can have a chat on the LinkedIn group. And I'm gonna do this every week. I'm gonna do something to try and encourage you guys to communicate on the LinkedIn group, because I really like a community where everybody can support each other. So I totally understand if there's no comments this week, maybe everybody hasn't got a LinkedIn page yet. That's fine. I'm going to put some information on how to create a LinkedIn page and stuff on the careers page for everybody, and that'll be separate to the career coaching sessions that we're going to run through. So for the people who haven't got this open, basically, I've put my name next, and then I've just done a quick summary, and that was just an overview of myself. Tried to keep it within 3 to 5 lines, just to summarize. And then on the next section, it goes straight into my work experience. And then you'll notice that anything in royal blue and underlined, that means it's hyperlinked. So the reader of this resume, as long as they're on their computer, which 90% of the time they will be, you can click in and you can go and explore, whether it be the companies I've worked for, whether it be the university I studied at, the college I studied at, or even some of the the voluntary stuff for links to certain projects. I've also hyperlinked my email address. So if the person is on my resume, they click my email address, it will automatically load up their email, and they can email me. And also my LinkedIn profile. So if they click on that, they can have a look at my profile, which, to be honest, has got more information on it than this document. Okay, so again, before we go on to the next slide, there is errors in this resume. So I'd love you guys to go through. To give you a bit of a clue, there is, if you look at the formatting, there's a few formatting errors in there, and the way some of the information is displayed, there's an error in there, which you'll learn about in a moment. So I'll be interested to see if you guys can pick them out later on once we finish the session. Okay, so as I mentioned before, hyperlinking might not be the most obvious thing for somebody who's not very technical. That's fine. Basically, all it means is when you're typing some text into a document, and mainly the resume in this example, all you need to do is highlight the word that we're discussing. So whether that be your school that you attended, maybe a university that you've attended, any educational governing bodies, whether that be a diploma or a ticket in whatever it is, an email address, a LinkedIn profile, or any volunteering experience, or anything that you think is going to help your application. Then all you do is you get your mouse, you cover the word, and then you just right click, and then an insert hyperlink option will come up. When you click that option, you can type in the web address or wherever you want that. So you could go mail to, and then your email address, or you could put your LinkedIn hyperlink, whatever you need. and then OK. So then once that's done, that will automatically save, and then when the reader goes on, they can click that and off they go. So again, give me feedback, guys, if you need me to go even more to first principle with any of this stuff. Happy to do that. Just let me know. But can't stress the importance of hyperlinking. Try and hyperlink as much as you can within your resume. So it just makes it a more pleasurable experience for the reader, because sometimes just because you think it's obvious, the reader doesn't always know it's obvious. So my example would be, let's say I've volunteered somewhere and I put that in my resume. Well, the reader might not know anything about the organization that I'm volunteering for, or what they do, their mission, anything. So by using hyperlinks, I can paint that picture a bit more obvious. So I definitely recommend using them. Okay, I've jumped to the next slide because I wanted to discuss the actual setup of the resume. So if you're a candidate who doesn't have any previous work experience, maybe you're still studying, maybe you've graduated, or maybe you've looked after children, or whatever that might be, whatever the reason, it doesn't really matter. But if you haven't got much work experience, then what you want to do is shed more light on either your education or the volunteering or your soft skills, dependent on you as an individual and what you think your biggest strength out of those three areas are. So my rule of thumb, and I've put this in here for a reason, is if you've not got much experience, for me, if you've done education or you've got any kind of training, that should probably go next in your resume. So you put your contact details, your name, your summary to summarize what you're doing, and that summary could be tailored for every type of opportunity that you apply to. It's up to you. But if you've got not much experience, then maybe the next section should be your education, and then work backwards. So if we just move to the next slide quickly, I've basically said if you're a candidate with previous work experience, then obviously flip that. So put your work experience next in your resume, and then you can put your education and voluntary experience at the end. So just to make that distinction, because I know there's a few that school leavers or soon to be graduates that will be following this. So for you guys, that's in there. But on this slide, I've basically shown an image, and again, if you've not got the slides in front of you, it's fine, I can explain. But it's like a funnel, basically saying that most positions, you've got all of the applicants at the top of the funnel, and then it goes down to, do these candidates meet the job requirements? Some get dropped off. Do they pass the screening? Do they get through the interview? Then the offer letter, and then there's one candidate at the end. Obviously, they're the successful candidate. The reason I put that in there is because I'm going to make reference to the funnel. So I just thought I'd put a visual in there, just for everybody's understanding, I suppose. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So I've wrote here, write your achievements from a higher level perspective. So you might be thinking, what do you mean by that? So when you are talking through your resume, whether that be your working experience or your sometimes even within your educational studies or within your voluntary experience, you want to be able to summarize what you've done in regards to your seniority within that position. So I've put an example here of your basic level achievement might be that within a role or within a certain position, you researched and wrote reports on particular topics for the manager. So that might be kind of a basic achievement within that role. But maybe a higher level achievement within a role might be you know, you could have facilitated effective and efficient decision making by by providing clear, accurate, and thorough information and reports aligned with company strategy. So usually in an organization, if you're the person that's in charge of strategy, or you're in charge of projects, then obviously that's a higher level of achievement than maybe just being involved in the entry level, if that makes sense. So again, not trying to confuse anybody here, but if we get in the mind frame of when we're writing our resume to very summarize with our language and to talk about the responsibility rather than the day-to-day duties that you did whilst in the role, I think your resume will automatically read a lot better, because from a recruiter's perspective, I'm reading your resume and all I'm thinking is, can they do the role? Can they do the role? Do they match the list of skills? No, they don't. Next. Yes, they do. Shortlist. You see what I'm doing here? So if you can display that information as clear and as concise as possible, I think that's the best way to display, the best way to communicate yourself within your resume. On to the next slide. This might seem a little bit out there, but I've actually met hiring managers over the years that get offended, or they just don't think it's right. For me, I really couldn't care less, but just because of that feedback, I've added this slide. So when you're putting your contact details in, imagine somebody's having to read your number whilst typing it into their phone or what have you. So there's a format to put your mobile number and a format to put a landline if that's your best mean of contact. So I've just basically put that format in on a slide just as a reminder for people. So the format on here is 4 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits for a mobile number. And then for a landline, it's just the area code, so 2 digits. And then there's 8 more digits, so we do 4 and 4. Okay. All right. So another session that we will talk about is, sorry, I've moved to the next slide. Another session that we're going to be talking about is ATS, which stands for an application tracking system. So I've stole this graphic on this site by JobScan because I think it summarizes it perfectly. Imagine the ATS system as a big machine, or it's obviously a bit of software, but basically what it does is it acts like Google. So if you so it's a Boolean search methodology. So basically what that means is if you type in handbag in Sydney or whatever, there'll be a search criteria. And the way websites are displayed nearer the top are the ones with those keywords for the search that's gone into Google. Well, an ATS system does something very similar. It looks for trends and it looks for keywords within each resume. So if your keywords aren't within that resume, often you don't even get to the me or the equivalent of me within this funnel. Yeah. So it's really important that before you even think of writing a resume, that you think about the perfect role for you, the ideal job for you, or maybe there's a few of them. And then it's worth you going online and reading through a few of the job ads and making note of the keywords or the key duties that these businesses are asking for. Because if you can then make a short list of those key words and key duties, and then when you're summarizing your previous experience and background, and you implement these keywords, then you're going to beat the ATS. So you're going to get through the ATS, which is the application tracking system. Again, I'll run a session on this. It might seem like it goes completely over your head if you have never heard of this before, but don't worry about it. It's quite quite straightforward. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody's struggling with any of this. Okay, if we go to the next slide, one of the key things I find in your resume is just think of it's a piece of paper that's designed to get you from A through to B. So it's really worthwhile if you're creating your resume within a Word or Google Documents or whatever the equivalent is. If there's a spelling and grammar checker on whatever device you're using, I'd strongly recommend you use it. And then I'd also recommend that you get somebody else to proofread it, because sometimes when you're writing a resume, it'd be quite an emotional and heavy lifting task. And often because you all your focus is in this document, often it takes someone else to view with different set of eyes to realize, okay, maybe you need to change the way you've constructed this, or maybe, you know, the grammar is not quite right. Another free tool that's available online, which is becoming quite popular, is a tool called Grammarly. I'd see no issue why anybody wouldn't want to use something like this. But just one little tip, if you are going to use any of these support softwares, and just make sure that you go into the software and ensure that the language is set for Australian English, because there are a number of different Englishes. US, as in America, is one of the ones that usually is loaded up on these things. So if you do all your resume and it's all saying it's all spelled correctly and the grammar's perfect, but it's in American, then there's going to be errors in it when sending your resume out in Australia. Could seem very obvious, but you'd be amazed how often I see that mistake being made. Okay, moving swiftly on. So I wrote here, keep refining and updating your CV. So unbelievably, if you think back to the website and the Google example, if you own a website and you're a business and you're trying to get more eyes on your offering, wherever that might be, just the simple art of updating your website weekly improves your Google Analytics score and your SEO, and it can increase your score on a Google search. Your resume is the same online. So one of them so let's say we've got Indeed jobs and Seek jobs, might be two of the of the job boards that you're familiar with. So if you want your score, or you want to be found by more recruiters, just the simple act of going in and logging into, well, you might not have a profile on this, so you might need to do that first, but once you're in and your resume is up there, the simple act of just going in and uploading your resume, even if it's the exact same document, once a week, will significantly increase your score. So every time you get some working experience, voluntary experience, every time you pass a course, every time you do anything that's worthy of putting into your resume, do include it as you go, because sometimes if you see an opportunity and there's a closing date and it's tomorrow or it's in 2 hours and your resume isn't ready to go there and then, you're going to miss out on that opportunity. So it's always worth spending 15, 20 minutes, maybe a week, just making sure that it is updated, so that you don't miss out on any opportunities as and when they come up. Okay, next slide. So an extra tip for you with your resume, once you've written the whole resume, you might want to look at it and highlight relevant skills or relevant numbers that you've achieved, or awards or whatever that might be, in bold, just to make them jump out just a little bit more. So an example might be, I'm looking to send an application forward for a restaurant, say, and I've got some previous experience of working in a restaurant, and this particular restaurant, had 250 tables. I'm just making numbers up off the top of my head. That's probably massive. I worked for a number of different areas within that restaurant. So what I might want to do there, if that's the case, is I might want to put 250 tables in bold, and the different areas, whether it be the bar area, the kitchen, or whatever it was, in bold. So for the reader, to make it easier for the reader to draw the reader's eyes to those skills that you're trying to highlight. As a rule of thumb, it's recommended that you don't do this much more than 10% of the overall content. But I'm sure if you go over it a little bit, don't stress. But what you don't want is a document just full of bold text, because that's just going to take away from the whole process of doing it. Okay, so the next slide is basically a checklist of everything that we've covered here. So again, this is the first session. I'm sure it's not perfect. I'll be really open to hearing your feedback, and I encourage you to go to the web page where everything is housed. But just for your sake, when you've got the slides there, when you're attempting to do your resumes, it's always nice to have a checklist just to make sure that everything that you want to achieve is done. So the first one on the checklist is, have you picked a professional template from the hlume.com/resumes website, or have you managed to find another template from somewhere else? Just be mindful, again, with a lot of these templates, they purposely put the language in, some random country language. A lot of them are in Latin. So just make sure that you go in and you change the language to Australian English, just as a little tip. The second item on the checklist for you to have a look at is, have you included enough information within your within your resume? Have you summarized enough that it's over 1 or 2 pages? Again, I think that's important. Third on the checklist is, you have placed the education section in the right place. So again, if you've no experience, that's probably going to be right at the top. But if you have got working experience, maybe that takes a back seat. And then following on to the next slide, which is the checklist continued. Have you written your achievements from a high level perspective? So again, we're summarizing, and then have we spoke about your responsibilities? Have you been involved with strategy, or what does that look like? And again, there's examples of this all online. So if you wanted to do some research around that, if you weren't quite sure of what I'm talking about there. Have you tweaked the resume for each position? So what I mean by that is, if you are applying for a position in the public sector and you've got some experience, then maybe you want to draw out the public sector experience to mirror the role description. If you've got experience in the private sector, then maybe you do the same thing for that. So tweaked, tailor, whichever term you want to use, but it might be worth you spending that extra 5-10 minutes making changes to a resume, and then saving that resume under that type of silo, job, position, whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. And then the next one on the checklist, have you proofread your resume, or have you got somebody else to do it? Are you using free technologies like Grammarly or anything like that to help you with that? And have you refined your CV continuously? So what I mean by that is, oh, I've just got a new qualification, I must update my resume. Yeah. So keeping that going. And then if you do make an update to your resume, then, or you change a section or you change the design, be sure to remember to update your resume on those job boards, whether it be Seek, whatever. There's a whole heap of them. Okay, just moving on to the next slide. I've just put the URL there for my YouTube channel. So basically, I'll be doing all of these on YouTube just for ease of access for everyone. So you can check it out there. The next slide is the landing page I spoke of. So it's just simply karlrowlands.com.au/career coaching. Again, all the information on there and all the sessions will be on there, and any feedback, I'll raise on there. But if you go to the next slide, this is the slide that I'd love, and I can change the title, the design, open to suggestion. I'm not pressured at all, but yeah, look, I just wanted a place online within LinkedIn, ideally. So if you guys haven't got a LinkedIn profile yet, this hopefully is encouragement enough to go and get yourself a profile. And then I'm hoping that we can have some open discussions within this group, mainly for me to get feedback from yourselves to improve these sessions moving forward, so we can help as many people as possible. Last slide is a thank you for your time, and just wishing you all the best for your search. Yeah, so that is the session in a nutshell. I can see the numbers slowly rising. So like I say, this is the first one. We will do 10. They'll be bi-weekly, so every other week. And then once we've gone through the 10, we'll look to make improvements on each one of those sessions. I really hope this has been helpful. But again, if it needs to be more simplified or more complex, or whatever your feedback is, I'm all ears. I'm really keen to help as many people as I can. And, yeah, I just want to thank you again, everyone, for your time. And I just wish you all the very best with your journey. And I really hope that this session today was helpful. I'll end the stream now. But again, thank you, everybody. And you all have a wonderful day. Take care.